Hey y'all, it's Sierra aka Capricorn Moon Goddess back with another video, and this is a video on my thoughts on the yin yang style jar that I got, or more so like a bowl, candle bowl that I got, where you basically can use two different scents for your candles, but instead of layering them, like having to put one layer on top of another, you can put one scent on one side and then a different scent on the other side, so that way you can have both scents going or burning at the same time. And I was super excited when I found these jars on sale, because I had been wanting these jars for a while, and I found them on sale. I forgot the name of the company. I will have to try to put it in the description. But I don't want to talk negative about the company either. But I'm going to tell y'all my thoughts on this jar, because I was excited about this jar. And I had found the jar on Alibaba. There's different styles of this jar. So there's, or I guess I would say candle vessel, because it's a bowl, not a jar. But there's glass versions, there's metal versions, there's ceramic versions, and there are concrete versions of this jar. So the type of material that's used is going to be important here. So I'll go over that in a minute. But I was excited that I found the jars on Alibaba. There's also jars where it comes together like it's one big bowl, and then there's like a divide in the center. You can find jars that have a straight line. You can find jars that have a like a S type of line to make it like a yin yang, or you can find candle vessels that have two separate pieces that when you put them together, they make a yin yang sign. So that way you can put them together, or you can just use them separately, or put them in whatever kind of design you want to put it in. So I really didn't want the ones that had two separate pieces. I wanted one bowl that was together, that had a line dividing them. So that's what I went for. Now, I'll say this. I have found pretty much every jar that we see on all of the major candle supply stores' websites. I found all of those on Alibaba, and I don't even look for them on purpose. It's just when you go through and you start looking for candle jars and candle vessels, eventually you're going to run into the same type of vessels that they are selling. So most of these places are getting them online through probably Alibaba or AliExpress. Now, the benefit in purchasing overseas wholesale is that you get the jars at a lower price, okay? So let's say these major candle supply companies are purchasing thousands of jars at a time of one particular style jar, then they can get that jar for $1 or $2 or $3. I think the most you may pay for a really fancy one might be like $7 or $8 if you get wholesale overseas. So they're able to pay a lower price per jar, and then when they get the jar in and start selling it on their website, of course they charge more. So they're paying wholesale, and then they're charging us retail. So we may end up paying $11 for a jar sometimes. Let me plug my phone up real quick, because it is on 17%. Okay. So the benefit of buying overseas is you get a good price. Now, I did not want to do that, even though I found these jars overseas. I've purchased jars overseas before, and luckily for me, they've arrived. I've purchased jars and other things from overseas. Luckily for me, all of my jars arrived intact, and it was all the right colors and variations and things that I've ordered. But there's some other things that I've ordered from overseas, and I've gotten the wrong color, or maybe one or two was broken or something like that. And it's just a hassle to try to return something or get your money back or get an exchange and all that when you buy stuff from overseas. So that's the downside, having to deal with the stress of that. If you buy something from your country and something arrives broken or you get the wrong color or something like that, it's a much easier process to go to that company and either get a refund or get them to send you a replacement. So buying overseas is a lot more stressful. Even though it's cheaper, it's a lot more stressful, and it also takes 30 days or longer a lot of times for you to be able to receive your product. So you really have to plan your launch dates and this and that and the other, and allow for extra time for customs and what if stuff isn't correct and I got to send stuff back. So you really have to plan well. And the mail and shipping can be unpredictable sometimes. So buying overseas can be very stressful, and that's why a lot of people opt not to do that. So although I found several variations of this jar on Alibaba, I did not purchase them overseas. I actually purchased them from a company in the United States. It's a woman-owned company. I think it's a white woman and a black woman. So it's a woman-owned company, but they also are a diverse company, and I just thought that was really cool. So they had these jars on sale on top of that. So I was able to get these at maybe 40 to 50% off. It was a pretty nice sale price. Now, the only thing I don't like about this particular company is they don't let you purchase individual jars. So you can't just buy one jar from them and test it out to see if you like it. You have to buy several jars at a time. I think I got like 20 or something like that. I'm not sure. But you have to buy several jars at a time. And I don't really like companies that are in my country that are like that, because if you don't like it, then you're stuck with it. It makes more sense to do that overseas. Well, as a matter of fact, even when you're ordering from overseas, they will let you buy what's called a sample, and you can buy one item at a time. It's going to be at a high price, but you can still do it. So I found this jar on that website. It was on sale. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get these, even though I don't really want to order 20 or however much it was. It's on sale. So I guess I'm not taking that big of a loss. That's how I look at it. So, now the jars that they sell, they have white ones and they have black ones. And I think they were on sale because I don't think they're going to stock them again when they run out. I'm not sure. Maybe they weren't moving fast enough, or maybe they encountered some of the things I encountered when they used these jars. Okay. So they had black and white. Now, my colors for my business are black, white, gold, that kind of stuff. So either one of those would work for me. I went with the white ones because they have on their website that if you order the black ones, there is going to be some glaze because, they're concrete or whatever. So I guess the glaze is to seal them to make sure, because I think concrete might be porous sometimes. So you might get leakage possibly. So they had glaze on them to seal it. And I guess on the black jars, it's visible. You can see the glaze on the top, just on the top of the jar, not on the bottom, but on the top. So because they said that, I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to go with black. So I got the white ones. That's going to matter. Okay. So I was excited. I posted in the community section that I finally got the jar. I got it on sale. I was happy to start making my candles. I started doing testing, and then I was testing 4630 wax and satin deluxe wax from Makesy. And then 4630s from IGI. So I tested those two waxes. I tested a bunch of different scents and stuff like that. And I tested different sizes of wicks. I mainly was using smaller wicks because, each side is small and it's kind of an odd shape. It's the shape of a hat, like a yin yang sign. So each half is a, peculiar shape where there's a tail and then there's like a larger side. Y'all know what the yin yang look like. All right. So I didn't want to use single wicks, and I did not test this with using a single wick. Maybe that'll work better, but I use double wicks. I just use really small ones. So I use like CDN number 2, and then I use the smallest from Makesy. I think I use size 70 or even maybe smaller than that. And I was using 2 wicks on both sides just to make sure that the wax melted, because like I said, it's a weird shape. So what I noticed is, regardless of how small of a wick I was using, I was getting a lot of soot on these candles. Eventually I found like a nice size using 4630 that didn't give off a lot of soot, but it still gave off some soot. And you know, candles produce soot. You might be hard pressed to make a candle that doesn't have, like, every single candle that you make doesn't have soot. It happens, okay? This is the problem with it, though. I got the concrete versions of these jars, and trying to clean concrete candle jars is not the easiest thing to do. You can't just take a napkin or a paper towel and wipe the soot off like you can do with a glass jar or a ceramic jar or a metal jar. And sometimes it's even harder to do with a metal jar, but it's a lot easier to get rid of soot on a glass jar for sure. And then ceramic has like a glaze on it, so it kind of makes it easier. But a concrete jar, like, I learned the hard way, because I like to put my extinguish my flames by using the lid that comes with the candle. So that's why I like to get lids instead of blowing the candle out and then you smell that bad smell that comes from the smoke. I like to just snuff the candle out by putting the lid on the top. So I had some concrete jars before that came with lids, and I used the lid to put it out, and then there was soot on the lid when I lifted the lid up. So I was like, oh yeah, concrete is not the best to do that with, because you're gonna get soot on it. So I was getting soot on the walls of these candles, and it's not like you can just wipe it off. You can try to use soap and water to get it off, and you may be successful, but it's too much work, okay? My goal is not to create a lot of work for my customers. I like to use jars that are reusable. So I like to use nice looking jars that they wouldn't mind repurposing. So I don't want the jar to be having soot all over it, and it's not necessarily cute, especially on a white candle, to have soot on the candle. And I may put pictures. I was doing one of the videos that I normally do, the testing videos, where I go and I show y'all the whole process of me testing, but sometimes it takes so long to do those because the testing process can be long if it's a difficult candle jar to wick. So I would basically never get this video out trying to get the right combination for this jar. That's how hard it is to try to make sure there's no soot. And usually it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but like I said, trying to clean that off of this jar, especially white. If I had gotten the black jar, it might have been better, because maybe you wouldn't be able to see the soot depending on how dark the jar is. But with this white jar, that was just driving me crazy to be able to see that. So another issue that I ended up having with one of the jars is it cracked while the candle was burning. I didn't notice any cracks that was on it while I was making it. So I don't think the crack was there before. It actually cracked while it was burning. It was like a hairline, very, very thin crack, very, very thin. You could barely see it. And I was wondering, like, why can I always smell this candle all the time? Like, even when it's not burning. This is a strong candle, because some candles have a super strong cold throw. So even after you blow it out, it lingers. Thank goodness I had this on my bathroom counter. I didn't have it on my fireplace, or I didn't have it on my glass tables or anything like that. I had it on my bathroom counter, and I had a paper towel under it. For some reason, something told me put this on top of a paper towel. So I eventually realized that wax was seeping out of the hole slowly. I don't know how many days it had been cracked. I don't know how many times I used that candle while it was cracked, because it wasn't like a big crack. So what was happening is wax was slowly seeping out of it. And I think when the candle would reharden, then it would seal it up a little bit, and then when I would use it again, it would start seeping out a little bit. So I looked online to see if this is normal, and it does say online that sometimes concrete vessels can crack, because it wasn't like the flame was too large. It wasn't like it was getting too hot. I have a lot of different concrete type of vessels. None of them have ever cracked before. So I don't know if it was the way that this one was made. I don't know if concrete is made the same way as you make like pottery, where you have to put it in a kiln and stuff like that and let it dry. And sometimes if that's not done correctly, it can crack. Interesting fact. Same thing with toilets. So y'all know I was well, you may or may not know, but I was a property claim adjuster for years, like 10 years or longer. And we would get claims for this particular manufacturer of toilets, like the toilet you use the restroom on, because the tanks would crack. And it was a manufacturer defect, and they said it had something to do with when they put it in the kiln, they didn't do it right, or maybe not at the right temperature. Something was going wrong when they would put these things in the kiln. And then after a while, the toilet tanks would crack, and then there would be water damage everywhere, and people would file insurance claims. So many people were filing claims that the manufacturer got sued. Basically, interesting fact. So if you don't, some of these materials, if they're not made correctly, they can crack. Now, I don't want to be selling candles to my customers and they're cracking on them. Yes, I have sold some of these candles in this jar, and I'm like, ooh, I hope they don't crack. And I've used, like I said, I've tested this in several other jars. None of the other jars have cracked at all. And I guess it's possible to happen in any concrete jar. So that might be something you want to make your customers aware of, like to pay attention to. And really inspect your concrete jars well, so that way you know if it does crack when you're using it, you know it wasn't from shipping or something, like it wasn't cracked prior to using it. So a downside to these jars is they can possibly crack, and so that reason alone, I'm not going to order them again and sell them again. I think that what I'm going to do with the ones that I have left is use those as testing jars, not for testing, you know, to use, but just if I want to test a particular scent or something like that, or if I want to test a combination of scents to see would these two scents smell nice if they're burning together, then I will use them for that. I'm going to find some other use for these jars that I have left over. I don't know if I'm going to use it for storage. I don't know. I'll get creative. Y'all know I'm creative, but I'm not about to sell any more of those. Like the ones that I already made candles for, I will sell those and just give disclaimers and what people need to know about concrete jars and stuff. But I just don't feel comfortable to use them anymore. And like I said, it could have just been a one-off. I'm the type of person, I'm not about to make stuff complicated. Like if I run into an issue like that, it's a wrap. I ain't finna use it no more, okay? If I run into an issue where I didn't test about 6 different candles in this particular vessel and none of the wicks I'm using are working, I'm not about to keep testing it over and over again. It's just not for me, okay? Same with fragrance oils. I tell y'all all the time, I don't let my candle sit for a week and 2 weeks and this and that and the other. I will make that candle, use it the same day or use it the next day. And if the scent throw is not what I want it to be, then I'm probably not going to use that fragrance oil unless I really like that fragrance oil, because there's too many oils out there that don't require you to let the candle cure for a week or so. Now, there are times where I do let a candle cure. Like after I realize I like the scent throw, Then I may make another candle with the same combination of materials and fragrance oils and let it sit for a week just to see what happens, just to make sure there's no separation, because sometimes fragrance oils will start to seep out or separate from the candle. Even if you use the proper percentage and you didn't oversaturate the wax, it still can do that. So, but when I'm vetting a fragrance oil to see if it's strong enough, if it don't work the same day or the next day, I ain't using it. I'm not overcomplicating this, okay? I'm gonna need my materials to be on point, potent, strong, high quality, so that way I can be efficient and I don't have to spend a whole lot of time, extra time testing, because the testing process is a long process and it is something that needs to be done because we have to make sure our candles are safe. So that's why I started doing videos showing you all the multiple steps of testing a candle from start to finish. I didn't really see a whole lot of people making candles like that or doing videos like that. They would show you the flame, but they wouldn't show you all the various stages of what it started from when you lit the candle all the way until the end. So that's why I started doing that, because I was like, I want to know. Or they would be like, yeah, I tested this candle and I didn't like the flame. It was too high. It was too small. It was this and that, but they wouldn't show you pictures or videos. So I'm like, well, what is too small? What is too big? What is too large? Like, what in your opinion, what does that look like? So that's why I do those videos. But it takes a long time for me to be able to get these videos out because it takes a long time to test. Like, candles last, okay? At least the kind that people actually take the time to make by hand, they're not going to last you for 1 day or 2 days. You can burn it the whole day non-stop, which is not recommended. Don't do that. But I'm just saying, even a small 8-ounce candle is going to last you for longer than a day if you let it burn the whole day. So it takes a while to get to the bottom of the candle. So because of the cracking and because of the soot and it's hard to clean, I would not buy this particular jar again. I would, however, try this same jar in a different material. So ceramic or glass. And I even saw today that there's a vendor saying on Alibaba saying that it's metal. I was like, really? Is it metal? Sometimes you got to double read and ask them questions and stuff because there could be a language barrier. So they may use a certain word. But if you don't really look like it in the picture, you got to ask them, like, so do you mean metal for real? Like, I can stick a magnet on this type and it'll stick kind of metal, or, you know. So I was like, oh, they got metal ones now. And if that's true, it's probably because they realized the concrete ones don't really work that well because they're hard to clean. So would I purchase this jar again? No, not the concrete version. Would I purchase this jar again in a different material? Yes, I probably would. Or maybe I would just go ahead and get the ones that are individual, but like each piece is its own piece and you can put them together or you can separate them. So that's my thoughts on this concrete yin yang. If you don't know what it's called, because sometimes you have to know the verbiage or you have to know the name of a particular thing in order to even find it. So sometimes trying to research these jars is hard because you don't know what it's called. But if you search yin yang, or is it yin yang, one of the two, if you search those, that's how you can find this particular jar, either just on Google in your country or if you're looking for it on Alibaba. So there you go. All right. So that's my thoughts on the yin yang jar. I really love the concept, so I'm definitely willing to try it again. I've seen that Walmart's brands at the Walmart store, they're carrying these type of jars, but theirs is ceramic. It is not concrete. So I would not suggest the concrete version of this jar. If you've tried this jar, please let us know what your experience was with it and which kind of material did you use. If you were successful with wicking it, what kind of wax did you use? What kind of wicks did you use? Okay, that might be helpful for somebody who's thinking about using this. For me, I used CDN 2 wicks. I used Maxi size 70 and probably even lower than that. I think I may have tried LX10s as well. And I did double wick each side because I was like, I don't know if single wick is going to work. I may do this test again with a single wick because I still have more jars. So I might come back with an update for y'all if I do decide to try this and use a different jar or a different material and it works better. I will let y'all know. So please like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you've tried this jar, leave a comment. Let us know how it worked for you. And I will put the name of the company in the description box. It's not a bad company. And the company itself did not create these jars, I don't believe. I believe they purchased these jars because a lot of the jars that they have, I've seen those on Alibaba. So I don't think they made these. I think they purchased them. So this is not to say anything bad on the company. If you're looking for a woman-owned company, this might be a nice company that you want to support, okay? I haven't tried their fragrance oils or anything else, but I will tell you they don't allow you to buy one jar from what I've seen. So, you know, that can be frustrating. So again, thank you for taking the time to watch, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Toodles!